Investigators say 30-year-old mother Porsche Streeter ran a hairdressing business from her apartment, which became a crime scene. In January 2024, deputies responded to find Streeter shot to death and her boyfriend, 32-year-old Son Range Jr., who was shot in his upper arm.
The sound of silence in a home with 3 children is usually a blessing, a rare moment of peace for a tired mother. But in the early hours of January 13th, the silence in Porsche Streeter's Orlando apartment wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. It was the kind of silence that precedes a storm. As Porsche lay in bed, her body acting as a warm shield for her 3 sleeping children, the shadows in the hallway moved. She didn't know that the man she once loved, the father of those very children, was standing outside that door, not with a key to a home, but with a death sentence. Within seconds, the air was shattered by 10 deafening rounds. 10 bullets meant to erase a mother, while her babies felt the bed shake from the impact. This wasn't a random tragedy, it was a calculated betrayal. Welcome to Laws and Criminals. Today, we are diving into a case that defies human comprehension. A story of a mother's love met with a father's ultimate malice. If you believe that justice should be as relentless as the crimes it pursues, please hit that subscribe button and join our community. Your support allows us to keep telling these stories and honoring the victims who can no longer speak for themselves. Porsche Streeter was the kind of woman who filled a room with color. A gifted hair and makeup artist, she didn't just change how people looked, she changed how they felt. Friends described her as a God-fearing woman, with a spirit so gentle it was almost fragile, yet she possessed the iron will of a mother who would do anything for her 3 kids.
She was a God-fearing woman. And, if you got to know her, you know that she had a gentle spirit.
Her life was a whirlwind of school runs, braiding hair, and building a future. She was 30 years old, at the peak of her vibrancy, with a business that was finally beginning to thrive. But while Porsche was building, Son Range Jr. was brooding. To the outside world, they were parents navigating the complexities of a shared life, but behind closed doors, a toxic resentment was festering in Son's heart. It's a story we see too often in the world of true crime. A man who cannot handle a woman's success. A man who views his children not as lives to be cherished, but as pawns in a game of control. Investigators would later reveal that the friction between them wasn't just about the typical stresses of parenting. It was deeper. It was about money, specifically Son's belief that Porsche was hiding funds from him. It was about a bitter custody dispute that Son wasn't willing to settle in a courtroom. He didn't want a judge to decide his future. He wanted to play God. On that January morning, Son didn't act alone. Evil often seeks company, and Son found his in his cousin, Benjamin Garman. Together, they didn't just plan a murder, they choreographed a play. They wanted the world to believe that a monster had broken into their home, a faceless, nameless intruder who took a mother's life in a botched robbery. To make the lie believable, they knew there had to be collateral damage. Imagine the coldness required to look at your cousin and agree to be shot in the arm just to sell a story. That is exactly what Son Range did. He wanted a wound that would scream victim to the responding officers, a physical scar to mask the rot in his soul. At 9:30 a.m., the neighbors in the quiet apartment complex heard the cracks. Pop, pop, pop. 10 times. In the world of forensics, 10 shots isn't just a killing, it's overkill. It's personal. It's a message. 1 bullet can end a life, but 10 bullets are meant to pulverize it. And through it all, 3 children, the oldest only 10 years old, were right there. They were in the bed. They were the witnesses to a nightmare that no amount of therapy will ever truly erase. But the most chilling part of the timeline isn't the shooting itself, it's what happened after. For 2 agonizing hours, the apartment remained a tomb of secrets. Think about that time frame, 120 minutes. While Porshe's body grew cold and her children sat in the suffocating wake of the violence, Son Range Jr. wasn't rushing to the phone. He wasn't screaming for a neighbor. He was waiting. Investigators believe this was the window where the final touches were put on their horrific masterpiece. This was when the script was rehearsed and when the trigger was pulled a final time, not on Porsche, but on Son's own arm. When the 911 call finally came at 11:30 a.m., Son's voice carried the desperate pitch of a victim. He spun a tale of terror, a masked intruder, a demand for money, a struggle, and a ruthless execution. He told detectives that the gunman had even kicked his 10-year-old son in the head before opening fire on Porsche. It was a story designed to evoke maximum sympathy, to make the police view him as a man who had lost everything in a senseless urban violence. But the detectives of Orange County are not easily swayed by performance. As they walked through the crime scene, the facts Son provided began to crumble under the weight of physical reality. In a typical home invasion, there is chaos, overturned furniture, signs of forced entry, a frantic energy. Here, things felt curated. The investigative paperwork, which eventually swelled to a staggering 36 pages, noted that Son's story was unfathomable. To the veteran investigators, his behavior didn't align with that of a grieving partner or a protective father. They noted a chilling lack of priority for Porsche's safety. Even with a bullet in his arm, a man who loved the mother of his children would have crawled through glass to help her in those first few seconds. Son, however, had waited 2 hours. He had allowed the mother of his children to lie in her own blood while he calculated his next move. As the weeks turned into months, the good old-fashioned detective work began to peel back the layers of the lie. They followed the digital breadcrumbs and the physical evidence that led straight to Benjamin Garman. Garman wasn't some random predator from the streets. He was family. He was the shadow Son had invited into their sanctuary. The motive, when it finally emerged, was as hollow as it was heartbreaking. It wasn't about a grand conspiracy or a deep-seated secret. It was the most common, most pathetic reason of all: control. Son couldn't stand that Porsche was moving on. He couldn't stand that she was successful in her business while he struggled with money. He couldn't stand that she wanted a say in how their children were raised. To Son, Porsche wasn't a person with a soul and a future. She was an obstacle to be removed. He reportedly told people that she was hiding money from him, a delusion that fueled a murderous rage. While Son tried to hide behind his wound, the law was closing in. Benjamin Garman was eventually picked up on federal weapons charges. Prosecutors found firearms at his residence that he, as a convicted felon, had no right to possess. It was the first crack in the dam. While he sat in a cell for those federal charges, the Orange County Sheriff's Office was meticulously building the murder case, connecting the dots between the cousin who pulled the trigger and the father who gave the order.
This new mugshot of Garman was taken when he was transferred to Orange County custody. He was previously being held out of county on federal weapons charges, to which he pled guilty.
The community in Orlando watched in horror as the truth surfaced. Porsche's friends, who had initially mourned with Son, were forced to reckon with the fact that they had shared their grief with her killer.
How dare you pull someone's life away from them? How dare you do God's job? How dare you strip someone of their future? So how dare you strip 3 beautiful kids of their mother?
They remembered her as a woman who could look at a photo and recreate a hairstyle perfectly.
Family and friends describe her as a loving mom and a gifted hair and makeup artist.
She was so talented. You could show her a picture, and I guarantee you were going to look like the picture that you wanted.
A woman who worked tirelessly so her kids could have everything. To see that light extinguished by the very person who should have been her protector was a betrayal that shook the neighborhood to its core. Now, 2 years after that January morning, the wheels of justice are finally turning at full speed. Benjamin Garman has been transferred to Orange County custody, his face now immortalized in a mugshot that reflects none of the mercy he denied Porshe. He faces a life behind bars, with no hope of claiming self-defense. You don't shoot a woman 10 times in her bed and call it anything other than what it is, an execution. But perhaps the most haunting shadow in this entire story is the one cast over the 3 children. We often talk about the victims of violent crime in terms of the lives lost, but we must also talk about the lives left behind in the wreckage. On January 13th, those 3 children didn't just lose their mother, they lost their sense of safety, their innocence, and eventually the man they called Dad. Think of the 10-year-old boy, the eldest, who investigators say was kicked in the head during the struggle. Imagine the confusion of that moment, the noise, the smoke from the gunfire, the heat of the bed, and the terrifying realization that the woman who tucked them in every night was no longer moving. For 2 hours, those children existed in a limbo of trauma. Did they cry out? Did they try to wake her? Or did the sheer, paralyzing fear of the intruder, who was actually their own father and his accomplice, keep them silent? The psychological scar of such an event is a life sentence of its own. Every birthday, every graduation, and every quiet night will be colored by the memory of what happened in that room. The betrayal is multi-generational. Son Range Jr. didn't just kill Porshe, he effectively orphaned his own children in a bid to win a custody battle. He traded their mother's life and his own freedom for a sense of power that lasted as long as it took for the police to see through his lies. As we move into January 2026, the legal system is finally tightening the noose on Range. The transfer of Benjamin Garman to Orange County custody marks a pivotal shift in this case. For a long time, Garman was tucked away in a federal facility, serving time for the weapons that were found in his home after the murder. But the state of Florida has not forgotten Porshe. The transfer signifies that the prosecution is ready to lay out the 36 pages of evidence in a court of law. Garman's arraignment, scheduled for January 26th, is not just a procedural step. For Porshe's family and friends, it is the first real glimpse of the finish line. It is the moment where the man alleged to have pulled the trigger 10 times must stand and face the community he devastated. There will be no talk of self-defense here. There will be no stand your ground or accidental discharge. The sheer volume of shots fired, 10 rounds into a defenseless woman, speaks to a level of premeditation and malice that is difficult for a jury to ignore. While Garman prepares for his day in court, Son Range Jr. remains the architect of this tragedy. The state's case against him is built on the foundation of his own inconsistencies. His 2-hour delay, his staged injury, and the clear financial and emotional motives all point towards a man who thought he was smarter than the law. He believed that by shooting himself, he could buy his way into a life of freedom, away from the burden of child support and the interference of a mother who wanted what was best for her kids. Porshe's legacy, however, is far stronger than the violence that ended her life. In Orlando, she's remembered not as a victim in a 36-page affidavit, but as a vibrant artist. Friends still speak of her gentle spirit and her God-fearing nature. They talk about her talent, how she could transform a person's confidence with just a comb and a pair of shears. Her business, which Son so envied, was a testament to her hard work and her desire to provide a better life for her 3 children. The tragedy of Porshe Streeter is a reminder that the most dangerous place for a woman can often be her own home, and the most dangerous person can be the one who once promised to love her. It is a story that demands we look closer at the signs of domestic escalation, the toxic entitlement that leads a parent to believe their children are better off without a mother than with a mother they cannot control. As the trial dates approach, the focus remains on justice. Justice for Porshe. Justice for 3 children who had to grow up in a single morning. And justice for a community that refuses to let her name be forgotten. The silence in that apartment in January 2024 was broken by gunfire, but today it is filled with the voices of those demanding accountability. The story of Porshe Streeter is a harrowing reminder of how quickly the sanctuary of a home can be transformed into a stage for the unthinkable. It is a narrative defined by a series of too lates and what ifs. What if the neighbors who heard those 10 shots at 9:30 a.m. had called the police immediately? What if the red flags of Son Range's resentment had been addressed before they curdled into a murderous plot? We are left with the cold reality of a 36-page affidavit that meticulously deconstructs a father's attempt to play both the villain and the victim. Investigators now believe that the entire home invasion was a meticulously planned performance intended to solve Son's perceived problems, a custody battle he didn't want to fight, and a financial envy he couldn't overcome. By involving his cousin, Benjamin Garman, Son didn't just outsource the killing, he attempted to outsource the guilt. But the physical evidence told a different story. The intruder who allegedly kicked a child and demanded money left no trace, while the digital and physical trail left by Garman and Range was loud and clear. The 2-hour delay between the murder and the 911 call remains one of the most damning pieces of evidence, suggesting a period of cold calculation rather than the frantic shock of a survivor. As of January 2026, the legal reckoning is finally here. Benjamin Garman's transfer to Orange County signals that the state is ready to present its case, a case built on good old-fashioned detective work that saw through the staged wounds and the fabricated intruder. Garman's arraignment on January 26th will be a somber milestone for a community that has spent 2 years waiting for the other shoe to drop. For Son Range Jr., the father who allegedly orchestrated the execution of the mother of his children, the path forward leads only to a courtroom where his own children may one day have to grapple with the truth of his actions. Porshe Streeter's life was more than the tragic headlines. She was a woman who built a business from the ground up, a God-fearing mother whose gentle spirit left an indelible mark on everyone she styled. While her life was stolen in a hail of 10 bullets, her legacy lives on in her 3 children and in the relentless pursuit of justice that has followed her death. This case serves as a chilling testament to the fact that when a person prioritizes control over love, the resulting tragedy leaves a scar that time can never truly heal. If you believe that stories like Porshe's need to be told and that justice should never stop searching for the truth, please take a moment to like this video. Your engagement helps us bring attention to cases that might otherwise be forgotten. What do you think about the 2-hour delay in reporting the crime? Could anything have been done differently to save Porshe? Share your thoughts and your tributes to Porshe in the comments below. And if you haven't joined us yet, hit that subscribe button to stay updated with Laws and Criminals. We are dedicated to bringing you the facts, the law, and the human stories behind the headlines. Thank you for watching and for standing with us in the search for justice.